Hello, and welcome to the 21st in an unknown number of podcasts. It's the second day of the summer term, and no doubt for many of you, you're still trying to get yourself back into the old routines from when we were at the start of lockdown, trying to re-establish some structure into your working day. At which point, I'd like to just go back to the 8th podcast where I introduced Sisu, the Finnish art of courage. No doubt, again, for some of you, we're still trying to adjust to the fact that we're not going back to school. We're not seeing our friends face to face. We're seeing all sorts of stories on the news, and let us not forget that there are people who are getting quite ill. So to go back to Sisu, there's a passage that I read out from podcast 8. Don't worry, you don't have to go back and try and find it in the archive or try to search for it in YouTube. I'll go through it now. It was a Sisu moment for when the going gets tough. We all have them. They might come early or late in life, and their shape will vary. But all of us will face moments when we are presented with a choice, to give up or buckle down. I call such times Sisu moments. There is nothing grand or heroic about them when they first appear. In fact, they are much more likely to inspire fear. Disaster, sickness, sudden unemployment, the loss of a loved one, these are things that we simply don't allow to happen in our minds, but they happen in reality. Once the unthinkable has occurred, how do you go on? Sisu is for times like that. According to Sisu expert Amelia Larty, Sisu begins where our perceived strength ends. One of the hardest things in life is having to face a challenge with no end in sight. It requires a completely new way of thinking and living. Sisu is for those situations when the odds are stacked against us and there seems to be no way out or past our present circumstances. Unlike daredevil deeds and acts of extreme heroism, however, Sisu often goes unsung. Rather than the stamina to run up a mountain, Sisu is the strength it takes to put one foot in front of the other. So if you are struggling to get back into some form of routine, if you're struggling to wake up earlier in the morning, or if you're finding it way too easy to stay up late playing computer games or whatever, then just bear in mind that you need to have some form of a plan as to what it is that you want to achieve. But then don't think about trying to complete everything in that plan in one go. Take it one step at a time. That one step at a time approach is something you can also use while you're trying to complete your work on MS Teams. To the many students who have been completing the work and handing those assignments back in to staff, a big thank you to you all. These are very strange circumstances for you to be working in, and I'm sure it's not as easy as if you were sitting in the classroom with your friends and with your teachers actually there being able to guide you through the work. So a big thank you to you if you've been trying to get on and complete all of the work. To those of you who have dipped in and out, try to establish some form of schedule so that you're completing more work than not. And if anyone has yet to do any of the assignments, if there are any particular problems that we need to be aware of, whether it be not having access to the internet, not having a computer or whatever, then please do get in touch with your heads of year and let them know. Now, MS Teams isn't just used for setting work or for students to be handing it in. We can also have meetings, and the science faculty had its first meeting in a long time today, which is why today's podcast is a little delayed. Ordinarily, we would sit around a bench in the lab, but this was a little bit different in that you could only see 4 faces at any one time. It's a compromise, it's different, but it's the best that we can do at the moment. And speaking of things being different, this was a photo of the science corridor from yesterday. It's a far cry from what it should be like, with 4 labs and a computer room. We've got up to 5 classes at any one point in the day waiting to go in and learn, and we can see it's just too quiet. It's way too quiet. It's eerily quiet. It's just not the way it should be. I can let students know at this point, because I've been in touch, or other teachers have been in touch with me, we are missing you. We are missing the interactions that we would have. We're missing the noise. We're missing the energy that students bring to our building. And so if at any point you're thinking that it's strange for you, then please bear in mind it's equally strange for us as members of staff. And despite the feeling of us being in isolation or lockdown, or not being able to interact with people in the way that we normally would, not that I want to get into High School Musical lyrics, but let us not forget that we're all in this together. And so I want to go back to Sisu, that book that I mentioned way back in podcast 8, because there's, I think, a passage here that sums it up nicely. When we go through challenges, it's all too easy to imagine it as a lonely struggle. That would be a mistake. Sisu may be an individual quality, but it's one we inspire in each other. It's a case of all for one and one for all. Sisu as a psychological construct really comes into its own when we are under pressure. A crisis in the family tends to turn the spotlight on its dynamics, whether good or bad. Whatever the challenge, choosing to think like a team will make a world of difference. In difficult times, we need to be able to lean on each other and subsequently offer each other that same support. Chances are, on days when you are running low on Sisu, someone near you will be able to top it up again. Above all, Sisu is a collective choice. We are stronger together. During this lockdown, in this time when we are apart, it may well be that we re-evaluate and perhaps value more the time when we are together. Until then, be kind, take care, and stay safe.